Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with another episode of This Freakin' Show, the weekly podcast with a little bit of something and a whole lot of nothing. I'm your host, Travesty, and alongside me this evening, as always,
Awkward Colin!
And Geek Cast Joe.
And this episode of This Freakin' Show is brought to you by Firepit Bar and Grill of Peotone, Illinois. If you're looking for a down-home country restaurant where you get a burger and a beer for $6.99 every Monday and Wednesday, come on down to Firepit Bar and Grill of Peotone. You can find them on Facebook at Firepit Bar or at the website, firepitbar.com.
Nice.
Oh, it was.
Burger sounds really good right now.
Burger does sound good right now. I meal prepped some spaghetti today. And as I was browning up the ground beef to put in the sauce, I kept thinking, like, I should have just made it in the patties and put them on a bun. But I didn't want to go through the hassle of actually having to form the meat because it's easier just to fucking brown it. I get lazy when I cook. But I actually went to Firepit yesterday, which was a lot of fun. They have this new wrap, which is interesting. I do recommend trying it. It's called the Appley Chicky Wrap, and basically it's white chicken, sautéed apples, and lettuce wrapped up with some raspberry vinaigrette. It's really, really good.
Raspberry vinaigrette.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to go outside my comfort zone on food, and I was like, you know what? The thing that intrigued me the most was the sautéed apples, because like I'm a huge fan of like apple crisp and like the fucking like remember like that shit in school when we were younger, the apple crisp that had like it was just basically apples and oatmeal with like the cinnamon like
yeah
absolutely amazing. So I'm like that has to be pretty damn close, and it was very, very good.
Nice.
Yeah, I got the mac and cheese, which was crazy because a lot of people kind of just stared at me because they're like, "Oh, you got the mac and cheese?" Because I know I'm not a mac and cheese guy, but apparently the entire bar knew that, so it was like everyone's jaw dropped. They fucking brought this mac and cheese, and I was like, "Calm down, guys. Shit." It was weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, that last part really didn't happen, but it could have. No. I did get the mac and cheese, though, and it was actually really good. So I may get that more times than not now. Yeah. How have you guys been? How was your weekend? Week? How's the last week since we talked, I guess?
Been good.
Yeah, it was
I
fine.
did my last homework assignment, so for this semester.
Yeah, so now you're on summer vacation until you start your summer classes.
No, I still got my final to take, but
gotcha.
homework-wise, it's all done. But
I gotcha. Yeah. That's good, at least. Joey, you're like, what, 3-4 weeks out?
Yep,
you're back home?
4 more Sundays.
4 more Sundays?
your stepdad's coming this week, ain't he?
I think so, unless his plans have changed due to unforeseen fire.
You heard about that, huh?
I did.
That fucking guy. Holy shit. Oh my god. That fucking woke me up from a nap yesterday.
What time was that? What time did that happen at?
I don't know.
I know I can't remember. My mom texted me. All I know is I got like a group text. It was like me, Nick, Sherry, and my mom. And I'm like, okay, if my mom's planning to have like some kind of dinner tomorrow, because that's normally what the group texts are about, like I'm really not in the mood to like go over and have dinner and shit. But then I opened it up. It was at 5:30. I got the pictures yesterday. So I opened it up and I see Carl standing over what used to be his motorcycle. And the melted remainder of what is the top of the garage. But yeah, that was that was definitely one of those kind of like, okay, now I'm up kind of moments. So
Yep, I can see that.
yeah, but luckily everyone was okay. Everyone was safe from my understanding. It was an accident. Carl was working on his bike. My mom got hold of the insurance. She's following the process of all that. Nick's only response to these pictures were, "I'm not paying for that." So, which is fucked up because like I'm like, oh my god, I hope everyone's okay, and then Sherry's like, OMG, glad everyone is okay, holy shit, and Nick's all like, ha ha ha, I'm not paying for that.
That's
So,
hilarious.
but yeah, it just stayed in the front part of the garage, so
That's good.
no damage to the house or anything.
It was like a gas leak, right?
Yeah, it had to do some with the gas from the bike and the heater from the flame from the heater that was near it and some shit. It was
Yeah, he was working on the fuel lines
Oh god.
on his bike.
Well, it is really good that they're all right. So
yeah.
that was right before the big storm came, wasn't it?
It was it was a couple hours before it actually started raining, downpouring and shit.
Yeah.
So if Carl waited like 2-3 more hours, he probably wouldn't even had to have called the fire department. God will put it out himself. But well. Yep. So that was their fun weekend and shit, which is weird because I was telling I forgot who I was telling. I was telling somebody earlier. Like I had a dream a few weeks back that their house caught on fire and they ended up living with me. So when I saw those pictures, I was all like, "Fuck no!"
I hate it when that happens.
Right? I'm gonna lose my office and my guest room and everything else, but. No. Luckily, everyone's okay. Everyone's safe. All that's got messed up was the garage door, the motorcycle, and the soffit right above it. So everyone's good. Everyone's safe.
Good.
Except for Carl's bike. R.I.P. motorcycle.
I saw it sitting out front today.
Did you?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I've seen the pictures, so I really don't know what it looks like in person.
Yeah, I mean, I just drove by. Didn't see up close, so. Well, your mom was always telling him to get rid of it, right?
Yeah. I was asking Mom and shit Dad because I mean his bike is an '07, it's 10 years old. So I asked him like, do you have any idea how much he's gonna get back for that? And she don't know, but she know it ain't gonna be much.
Probably more now.
Yeah, I don't think they I don't think he wants to go back to getting a payment and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he's gonna look at getting a new bike or nothing right now. Who knows?
Yep.
I think he should hold off and try and repair the house first.
Yeah, that was it was funny because a couple weeks ago, my mom was even telling me how she's close to even paying off the siding and shit like that.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, she's like, oh, we got so months left, and the siding will be paid off and all this shit, and well, then that happens.
No.
Yeah, it's goofy situations, but it's one of those things where it's not as bad as it could have been. So
Oh yeah.
that's
Right.
a bonus, right? Right. So
Absolutely.
fuck yeah. Ooh. Okay. So. Anything else anyone want to talk about before we move into our main topic for the evening?
No.
Good. If we're ready.
I like how enthused you are for not talking about anything we want, anything in our lives anymore. Like, no, fucker.
Well, I mean, we have something in place.
The
We do.
quicker we move to the guest, the quicker I get to go to bed tonight.
Oh, joy. An hour is an hour, bro. Shit, there's a 50-50 shot that he might not even be able to make it on again, and we'll just talk about ourselves.
No. That'd be fine.
Yeah. That'd be cool. All right. So yeah, let's get our guests on and everything. And while we're doing that, let's promote a podcast.
Looking for a podcast to listen to? Look up Geek Dig Pod. They've got comics, movies, music, video games, tech, or whatever your geeky little heart desires. Look them up at geekdigpod.com, on Instagram or Twitter at geekdigpod, on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, The Satchel Player, or Player FM. The Geek Dig podcast is part of the Tangent Bound, BS Podcast Network, and the We Be Geeks Network.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we are back, and we are here with the author, historian, overall badass, Jay Sandlin. Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hey, thank you. I'm so glad that we got together, and the timing's perfect. My book's been out for about 2 weeks now, so it's perfect timing.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. You want to kind of give a brief, I guess it's not a synopsis. Yeah, an overview.
Yeah, I can do that. Well, I'm an author of alternate history with superheroes. I decided to combine history and superheroes at one point because those are my two favorite things. And as the process went on over the past year now, I've started a company called The Novel Comics and written about 1,000 pages of notes for this shared universe of alternate history, where at some point there was an event, early 20th century, 1918 or so, the world became aware of a group of people called the Outbreak Babies. You know, in our world, we had the baby boom in the early 20th century. This world had the Outbreak Baby boom, which is when a small percentage of the population experienced superpowers, and that changes the timeline.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Compared to ours, of course. So it's alternate universe, alternate type history. And the superheroes are my characters, the Outbreak Babies. It's about their adventures. We just released the first one from the Novel Comics. It'll be what I kind of call the main series or the volume series, kind of like if you're going by the Star Wars trilogy titles. But then I can always slip in like a Star Wars story and stories that take place in the same timeline. So it's really flexible, and I'm excited about that flexibility to write stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll have it like DC and Marvel, a shared universe of characters in the same timeline, living the same events. This book is Outbreak Mutiny. That's available now on Amazon. You can check it out for 99 cents in the ebook form, or you can check it out in paperback, which is $11.99. And I'm thrilled with how the paperback turned out. I had a great design team. I got to give a shout out to them. It's JD and J Designs. Find them on Twitter or jdandjdesigns.com. They did the whole cover. Have you guys seen the cover?
Yeah. I was kind of curious, like when I was looking at it, like is the dude in the back? Is he getting ready to box the robot?
I get all these questions about the dude in the back. All right, so the boxer, yes, that is Atlas, and he is the American juggernaut, the people's champion, the blue-collar brawler. He is not getting ready to box the robot. Was that your question?
Yeah, I looked at him like, it looks like he wants to kick the shit out of the robot. But
he does, because the robot drives him crazy. The robot's really annoying. Like, you know how all the classic superheroes that you would get on Hanna-Barbera, like the old school Super Friends and Batman and Robin?
Yeah.
They all learned from this guy. His name is Clockwork, and he's not a robot. He's a man powering like a steampunk power armor that he built. He's an engineer. It's really just a character cover. It's not really meant to be a scene. It's just supposed to show the characters, or 4 of them that I selected from one particular chapter. I call my chapters issues. So it's like a comprised installments that form one story, but it's in a novel form.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Clockwork is one of my favorites. He's there in the back. He was built from an old industrial boiler. They probably found it in a junkyard somewhere, and they put 12-pounder naval cannons on each of his arms. He's got rocket boots in his feet and smokestacks on his shoulders that pump out like a factory, because it takes place, that scene, in 1937. We didn't exactly have clean air emissions for power armors.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like he is polluting an awfully lot there.
Yeah, steampunk, man. He's based on a group called the Armorers Guild. He's actually the founder, or the pilot is the founder. The pilot's Mr. Cognition, the CEO of CogCorp, which is kind of like a John D. Rockefeller or William Carnegie of his day. He was a captain of industry and saw the Outbreak Babies, the people with superpowers, emerging, some of them good and some of them evil. And he wanted to do his part to protect the country. He wanted to build protection through ingenuity rather than superpowers. Kind of a way of keeping up with the Outbreak babies and their abilities.
It's amazing. So he's kind of like a good version of Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Oh man, I love The Incredibles. Yes, maybe if Syndrome had had a better role model than Mr. Incredible, he. And it's funny you mentioned that because he has all these little syndromes beneath him that make their own armors, and they're inspired, and they form the Armorers Guild, and they get together and have scotch and soda nights during the good days. That's the good days are known as the Soarin' 20s rather than the Roarin'. We have the Soarin' because heroes fly and all that. Yeah. So that's when the book begins. Outbreak Mutiny issue 0, which is kind of the prologue chapter, starts with the fall of America and the end of the Soarin' 20s in 1929, when the worst of the Outbreak babies, the Reich, R-E-I-C-H, the reunified Germany, show up and attack Boston, Pearl Harbor, and Moscow, Russia, all on the same day. And that's the end of the enemies of the Reich.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So in this alternate history, does World War I basically never happen? Or
well, it did. That I would say that the timelines don't diverge a lot until we get to this date I gave, December 31st, 1929, and Operation Triple Reich.
Gotcha.
If you know, before it was called World War I, it was called the Great War.
Right.
Then we had World War II, and that was kind of retroactively named World War I. So in my series, there was no World War II, and World War I is still referred to as the Great War. And then after that, there was the first Outbreak War instead of World War II. And that was the first World War fought with superpowers, and the Reich basically steamrolling Europe, steamrolling Russia, Asia, and then taking the American continent in issue 0.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's the United States is dissolved, it's downsized, they have the Articles of Isolation forced on them, and they're turned into the remnant states. On one side, they're surrounded by these misshapen monsters that are, failed experiments and have overrun the West. And then they're also surrounded by New Reich Mania in the Northeast, which is the seat of the colonies for the Reich in the American lands. So it's not looking good when you start out in issue 1. Not looking good for our heroes left in the Remnant, I'm afraid. Huh. That's the guy you have on the front there, the Buccaneer, kind of the pirate-looking guy. He lives in the Remnant, was a sailor on a ship, Reich slave ship, in fact. They keep slaves. It's a slave empire, because the idea of this story, a big idea, is what would we do with people in our world if they did have superpowers? I feel like they'd be used as resources.
Nice.
So that's why, not nice, but that's why the slave trade is so prevalent in the series, or they call it the flesh stock trade. Don't worry, there's a glossary in the book. Glossary in the book for all these terms.
So that sounds like a really interesting reversal. Instead of superheroes kind of rising to the top, they're forced into the bottom rungs of society.
Well, it depends. Yes, it depends on the society, which is exactly what the Reich is. The Reich is a slave-based case system empire, and at the top of it, you have the worst of all the Reich, or worst of all the Outbreak babies, which is the Reichsmensch.
Right.
All you know about him is that he hunts his own kind and uses their powers. Below him, you have the warlords, who are assigned to govern territory that's acquired in conquest. Below the warlords, you have the acolytes, who are seeking to be promoted to the status of warlord. And then below that, you have the Reich Legion. So it's a caste system. You can very rarely move up, and you're essentially treated as being expendable.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're right. It stinks. The Remnant is kind of the last hope for freedom and respect. It's still debated in the Remnant if they shouldn't just, turn over all their Outbreak babies at one point when things get hard.
Right.
I actually just got your book. I'm looking at it right now, and it says the Reichmensch in the glossary you were talking about, or the description of him. It says undisputed Reich ruler, his true origins, however, and then there's just a black line.
Yep, it has been redacted.
Okay.
That's classified information, which you'll also find some more of that redacted information in the back for the Outbreak glossary of terms.
Okay.
Yeah, I did that to be a bit of an ass. I don't know. I was not going to give away a spoiler in the character description.
Okay.
So I just have to say, keep reading and you'll find out. And there's actually an in-story reason as to who redacted that information.
Okay.
You got to read to the last issue of this book to find out, though.
Oh, I will.
Lost Cities and Shapes issue. It's called the Aftermath issue.
Okay.
Yeah, and speaking of issues,
So-
I got to give another shout out real quick to GV-Art. Check them out at GV-Art on Twitter. They did all the interior artwork for the book and did a great job too, including the maps in the beginning.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at this, and so this book you said has 7 issues to it.
Correct. And
So, I guess-
this is a release. Yes.
Okay, how long did it take you to come up with the stories with this, and where did your stories like kind of come from? Like, because I'm reading like some of the descriptions of your guys here, and I don't want to assume you're twisted, but
Yeah, I was
But,
doing a lot of Adderall when I came up with some of those.
You really are a grad student.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and a dad. So,
man.
all right. This started back in June of last year in a very serene environment. I was on the beach and I read. I love to go to the beach and just read. Like I could just read a whole week and never get in the pool, never get in the ocean. Now that I've got a 3-year-old, it's kind of hard to sit and read. So I managed to read some books at the beach last year, and some of them were superhero novels. I would recommend these. There's the X series by Peter Clines. There is the Confessions of a D-List Supervillain by Jim Bernhauer. Don't want to do him a disservice, but I'll come back to that. Anyways, I'm reading these books about superheroes, and then I'm working on grad school simultaneously, at the same time with a class on the Cold War. That's Jim Bernheimer, by the way. Sorry, Jim. And I was doing this class on the Cold War, which was basically a class on the 20th century, and I thought about what if being a superhero was just a job in the 20th century. So I started a story set in 2016, and I wrote about 20,000 words, and a good portion of it was backstory as to how the world became that way. Well, then I realized the backstory was a whole lot more interesting than what I was writing at the time. So I developed the backstory into another story called History of Heroes. And it was meant to be a history-type novel that just happened to have superheroes in it.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about 100,000 words on it over the next 4 to 6 months and scrapped every word by the end of December.
Wow.
Yeah, well, this is when a writer needs to really be honest with themselves about who they are, what they've written, and listen to the people around them, people that they know will give them honest opinions. I had a group of beta readers who read it and gave me their feedback, and it was very critical but very constructive because they told me what worked and, most importantly, what didn't work. And what didn't work was my tendency to be tedious, to be long-winded. Sure you haven't heard that at all tonight. I was getting into tedious facts for the cost of characters. And that was when I made a change. I decided it wasn't going to be just a history. It was going to be straight up alternate history. And I made a new timeline where America had fallen, like I described. The Reich had already won, so it was dystopic. Before, I was just doing the basic World War II and the Third Reich and just throwing in superhero characters. So once I came up with that, and a lot of it just revealed itself to me, I really feel like as a writer, you don't make up the story. The story is discovered by you through the process. I don't mean to sound new agey about that.
Oh, no, I totally agree with you.
Good, thank you. I thought of it And then I also killed the main character. I even put all his drafts in a file. The main character was named Ryan at one point, and I labeled this file Ryan Breakup File.
Oh.
I kind of felt like, what's her name, Marissa Cooper on the OC when I did that. But I had to kill my main character. I had to kill 100,000 words, and then I took the best of what worked there and came up with this. And I've been working on it up since probably 1st of March, and it's been at the copy editor since then, and just got published about 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just like it's weird kind of because like when you read when you sit here and you read through your list of characters and like the description, the background and all of them, I mean it's very original, which is very awesome. I mean, especially if you only spent like maybe the last year creating all this, it's very impressive because I mean like I can't sit here and think of like a concept I want to do for like a show like next week, which is probably the simplest thing to ever do. But you can say, and you create, crap, what's the word?
Universe.
With
Yeah,
like with original
I-
characters and everything.
Well, I'm glad you said original because everything came from somewhere in some form. And a writer should not be afraid. I'm going to word this carefully. Don't be afraid to steal from the best because eventually what you stole, I guess there's almost like squatter's rights. It becomes your own property. And I mean that in the sense that it evolves. You can take the same basic idea that someone has, put it in a different environment, which is your story. And just like in natural selection in an environment, evolution takes its place with your character or story element. Like there's one character, when you mentioned Twisted, my mind immediately went to Hordling. Did you read his description by chance?
I did not read.
Take a look at Hordling if you want some Twisted real quick. I'll let you read that out loud.
A hive mind entity made up of rodents. Oh
Yes.
Well, there's
Yes.
that.
He was also taught to kind of speak like a pirate, so he could be given human characteristics. But thousands of rats converge and form into this like 6 or 7 foot, shape that is vaguely humanoid, and it speaks through the thousands of rat vocal cords, and that's Hordling. He's one of the villains that hangs out with the Reich, and he. That's one that people told me was original and embodied their worst nightmares because he pulls people inside himself, dives on them, that sort of thing. And I just was like, I was just kind of thinking of a really twisted Pied Piper, of Pocono.
Yeah.
And there's also, I think the Flash has kind of a rat summoning villain, or maybe it's Cyborg, but so you can take any basic idea, and then once you put it in that new environment, you don't have to try to make it different. The story will make it different all on its own.
Absolutely.
I got you. Well, the characters that I'm kind of drawn to as of right now, being from Illinois, is the Chi-Town 4.
Chi-Town 4. Oh, yes. Well, a big portion of the book takes place in Chicago. That would be issue number 3 or 4. I don't have it in front of me. It's Sewer Storm. So are you from Chicago, or are you from Illinois? Or
South suburb of Chicago. Yeah, I've lived here my whole life. Colin's been here his whole life. Joey's been part of for like half his.
Yep.
Well, about the this works into the timeline, and you can probably tell us a bit about this too, being a native. In the history of Chicago, it's a town built on the marshes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And it has been raised, like actually joisted up with braces and supports. In the early 20th century, there was a whole project to basically raise Chicago several feet off the ground. You know about that?
Vaguely. I've heard about it. I know someone's mentioned it. It might have actually been Joey who kind of mentioned it to me. Never really heard much about it. I know a lot about Chicago sucking. It's a horrible city.
Well, it sucks much worse in my timeline. It's if you look in the map section, you'll see it's in what's called the buffer zone, which is basically a demilitarized zone to keep Reich territory from the remnant territory. And when this first issue opens, a major virus called the Thirst virus has broken out in the Chicago buffer zone. So it's definitely the worst of times for Chicago. And they, just like in our timeline, had their city joisted up, which resulted in a huge sewer system. Chicago has one of the most advanced, spacious, and largest sewer systems on the planet, even still today, just because of the population and their needs for water and all that. I learned way too much about the Chicago sewer system writing that chapter because it takes place where the Chi-Town Four have abandoned their oaths to uphold the laws of the buffer zone, and they're just going to be straight up superheroes and use their powers without permission to seek out the source of this thirst virus. That's what they go down there to find. But yeah, I love the Chi-Town Four. They're heroes put into a bad situation. It's almost like being told you have to be border security. Or TSA, maybe. If the Justice League had to be TSA, that would be what happens to the Chi-Town Four.
That's perfect. But
did you read about some of the members of it?
Yeah. I like the name Alcatraz, like just
Alcatraz, yeah.
Right off. Like because I like the jail itself. I like the stories that the jail out, So
well, that's
where
he was born. Yeah, he was born in the Alcatraz jail. There's a real life story of a prisoner in Alcatraz. This is where I went into the alternate history, and this is left over from that first draft where I wanted everything to be historically accurate to an extent. But there was a guy named Machine Gun Kelly who was a gangster in Chicago in the early 20th century. Real life guy. He was taken to Alcatraz, and at some point he was executed. In my timeline, his powers manifested when he was executed because in my world, you have to endure a terrible trauma or near-death experience to gain your superpowers if you have them. And it turned out he did. He was a person with latent superpowers. He merged with the stone walls and floor of the Alcatraz building and became a stone golem, which they then called Alcatraz because the police guards shouted, "Alcatraz is coming," because they thought the jail was attacking them.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like The Thing, but a little more mindless. That doesn't actually happen in the book. I mention it, but I'm going to use it in a prequel story at some point.
Yeah, that sounds badass, man.
Alcatraz is badass. However, he like the Jewish golem. There's a legend in like the Talmuds and the other Jewish writings that, and an episode of The Simpsons as well, Treehouse of Horror. If you put a scroll in the body of a stone statue, it comes to life and follows your orders. And I always liked that idea from mythology. I love myths of all cultures. So I took it and gave it to this Alcatraz character. He has no free will of his own, but he listens to the priest that gave him his last rites at his execution, which is an old man called the Padre. So they become a superhero team, and he gives him orders from, his shoulder or inside his stone chest or somewhere safe.
That's very cool, man. I like so you got so for the Chi Four you have Copper, Alcatraz, Steel, Samaritan, and Nightingale.
Correct.
And Nightingale is actually married to Copper?
Nightingale and Copper are the perfect duo in and off the streets because she was originally a nurse, in the ER in Chicago, trauma nurse, who, when she gained her superpowers, learned that she could heal people through tactile touch. So if you touch someone, she can heal them to a certain point. Copper just can't die. He doesn't have super strength. He can't. He doesn't have flight, or anything traditionally associated with superpowers. He's just kind of like Duncan or Connor McLeod, and he can't die through traditional means. He recovers, but he still recovers at the same rate as a normal person, or humdrums, as we call them in my book, people without superpowers. So he has a really hard time. He takes lots of ass kickings and bullets and shooting, and he'll be in traction for weeks or months. At one point, the book says that he had his last rites read no less than 6 times. So he'll just pop up out of a coffin later. Anyway, when they're the perfect, so yeah, that's why they're the perfect couple, because she can heal him from basically any state, and he'll come back in just a few moments. Okay. So yeah, they're Copper's the leader. He's been leading the group for decades. His dad was a cop. He was a cop, and He swings a mighty shillelagh, which is it's an Irish, hardened wood stick. I took that from pro wrestling, the character Finley. I don't know if you guys remember him or not.
Oh, I love Finley.
Dave Finley. Oh man, legitimate badass.
He was one of my favorite wrestlers from WCW era, even though they didn't give him much to do, but still, I mean, because he was one of those guys that would literally go out there and like kick the shit out of you.
For WCW, he was best known for his bad mullet and the junkyard fight with Regal. I believe it was. Wasn't it Regal?
Steve Regal. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was Steven Regal on the show at the time, and then he goes to WWF, and they say you can't be Steve, and he had to be William. But yes, he was Steve Regal. Mm-hmm. I think one of them got legitimately cut and had to get a tetanus shot after that match.
I think it was Regal.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Regal always had bad luck.
Oh yeah. If I remember correctly, I mean, William Regal was one of the originators of like strong style wrestling back then.
Well, he was from that school of British catch can. He was straight up in the carnivals during their dying days in the late 80s and 90s. He always said if he hadn't come to America to adapt to our style, he would have had to have gotten a proper job, and he dreaded that possibility. But I love Regal. I always wanted him to be a world champion.
I think he probably deserved it too. And what was weird is I remember WCW having a huge problem with him when he didn't go through a squash match with Goldberg. Like he actually fought back.
I've talked to Goldberg about that on Twitter before.
Really?
This was years back. This was before Goldberg's return, but I like talking to various people on Twitter, and sometimes you get a response. Mm-hmm. But I showed like a still from that match, and I don't remember what I said to him. I said something like, "Any comment?" And he said, "I would have been no." He said, "I wish I could do that match again. I would be less generous today." So that indicated to me that he feels like Regal tried to take some liberties with him, went off script. Regal, on the other hand, blames Goldberg in his book and says Bill just completely froze up and even apologized to me for it later. So I don't know, but they fired him for that.
Yeah, because I mean, and from what I heard, it was one of the things he was supposed to go have a squash match, and he felt offended by it. Which I mean, I don't blame him. It's like, you know what? That
match is probably one of the best Goldberg matches in WCW's run. Not that that's saying much. He had the same match every time, but that was actually a good match.
Yeah.
It was like Goldberg had to try a little bit.
Yeah. Did you ever have to look in? And I don't want to get too far away from your book.
Go wherever you want to go. No, go wherever you want to
go. Did you ever stop and think about his actual record?
Oh, it was completely fabricated. Yes, they are pretty open about that because someone said the way that the numbers grew, he would have had to have been wrestling 3 house shows a day or something between nitros. Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't remember what it come up to.
I have no idea. 300 something.
No, it wasn't that high. I thought it was.
It's probably not.
I thought it was 173 or something like that.
Goldberg record. All right. Oh, wait. At Starrcade, Goldberg's undefeated streak ended at an official count of 173-0.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
there were 6 people that ever beat him, I think.
Yeah, but that's the thing that was weird. In order for it to be 173, he had to have wrestled for almost 2.5 years. But that one record was in the span of 9 months.
Yeah, I think they boosted it early, and then they started counting it when people were actually paying attention. Mm-hmm. They also admit that they piped in his chants through the crowd in the early days, but later didn't have to. I don't know if maybe that's just more common than we think, though.
I can believe it. You know who the first guy he beat to start that record was?
Oh, hang on. I think I do. Hang on. Goldberg debuted, and Mean Gene tried to talk to Hugh Morris.
Yep.
I love Hugh
Morris.
Well, I guess I should say I loved Hugh Morris. I don't know about all his scandals, but I always thought he was an entertaining mid-carder.
Yeah, I love Hugh Morris. I love General
His moonsault
Erection.
was impressive.
Oh yeah, for a big guy, him,
Yeah.
Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader. I mean,
Hugh was much more agile than Bam Bam, but definitely got less acclaim.
Yeah, I mean, Bill DeMott. I'm not a huge fan of Bill DeMott, but when you look at Hugh Morris, when you look at when he did the Misfits in Action as General Erection.
Yeah, that was a good. Well, Booker T didn't belong in it.
No.
Ironically, Booker T had played the GI Bro character in All American Wrestling before he became Booker T in WCW.
See, I did not know that.
Yeah, GI Bro. He was going. He had a job, like a day job, when he was arrested for robbing Burger Kings at one point, and got out of jail and got a job working at a storage unit, like at the front desk. And he was cleaning one out one day, and he found a camouflage cap and thought it looked good, so he wore it. And then he was going to wrestling school at night with his brother Stevie Ray. And the wrestling teacher, who was also the local promoter, saw him and said, "You're wearing that. In fact, that's going to be your name, G.I. Bro." And that's where his stardom was born on the independent scene.
Awesome. I didn't.
That's when he started using the spinner.
I do agree with you. God. That was the coolest fucking thing I've ever saw when I was a kid.
I would do the spinneroonie all the time playing WCW NWO Revenge. That was one of my favorites. A taunt, I guess you'd say?
Yeah.
Because, other wrestlers, you hit taunt, and if they don't have any personality, if you're just playing as like Ultimo Dragon or something, he's just going to put his hands in the air. But you played as Booker T, and then you turn into MC Hammer or something. It was awesome.
Oh, shit. That's awesome. Yeah,
I love that game.
Oh, I played it. I played that one and No Mercy a little bit because my friend was one that owned it. I more stuck to like SmackDown.
Back in the day, it was like church. Were you a fan of WCW NWO Revenge or WWF No Mercy for the N64? And how you answered determined if you could be your friend later or not. Luckily, my best friend and next door neighbor had Revenge, so we got along fine.
Yeah, see, like all my wrestling friends, like they're all like WWF fans. Like I was like one of the only people that really watched WCW.
Right. Well, I live in the South, and the TBS Superstation is huge in the South. Even when we didn't have many channels, we would get TBS. And it started with me. I watched this ad in 1994-95 for Sting, and he was sporting the green paint and the white flat top Surfer Sting.
Surfer Sting, yeah.
Surfer Sting, yeah. And he did this little promo, saying that his co-workers were 300-pound men that wanted to pound him into the ground. And he says, "Just another day at the office." And it shows Sting wearing a suit with a nameplate sitting at a desk. And that made me love wrestling forever. It I don't know what it was about that, but just seeing the Stinger, it captured my imagination.
Yeah. I love
it. Never got to see him wrestle.
It's a shame that he couldn't actually have his WrestleMania moment with the Undertaker and how he had to get injured and shit.
I was talking to a friend of mine about this this weekend. He went to NXT last night in Memphis, and I actually went to a local wrestling show last night. You can see the pictures on my Twitter. It's at @JSandlinWriter. Shameless plug there. Sorry. But we were discussing Sting and The Undertaker and why it wouldn't have happened instead of Sting and Triple H, because they had all the ingredients to make it happen. No one ever seems to talk about this, but both men were on the same card. Taker had Wyatt and Sting had Triple H. Yeah. They had the time to build it because Sting showed up at Survivor Series 2014. They had the players to build it because Undertaker didn't even really promote his match with Wyatt, so he could have done just the same thing with Sting. And they still went for Sting and Triple H, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I mean, like, and the goofy thing was like the only logical sense it made was like the whole Sting being what Sting is WCW.
It was WCW versus WWF.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what the
Yeah.
match turned into. But it turned in. I mean, it's 10 years too late. I mean, it was kind of cool, but it got a little nostalgia pop. I liked how the announcers just acted like it was a normal thing for DX to run out as a group.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, here comes DX.
Yeah. Well, see, and that was a goofy thing too. Like you had DX come out, you had NWO come out, but when you sit there and think about it, in reality, fucking X-Pac was in both.
He was, yeah. He doesn't like to talk about that.
And if you really want to go into a little bit deeper and be technical about it, so was Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, he when he made his debut in 2002, but that was NWO, WWE, and nobody counts that.
Yeah, but it's goofy because you sit there and so I'm creating a second podcast, a wrestling podcast. I think I mentioned it to you a little bit.
Cool.
And the whole point of the podcast I'm creating is to live in the world where kayfabe exists.
Okay.
So from that perspective, it's kind of weird to watch WrestleMania. Like it's awesome for me because I could watch WrestleMania and be like, holy shit, here's Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, here's Scott Hall. They're coming out to help Sting, where here's Triple H, and then you got the Road Dogs and X-Pac coming out to help them, and Shawn Michaels and all that. But through the eyes of people who want to watch wrestling as this nothing's real, it's all fake, it's all storyline, blah, blah, they look at it as Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, X-Pac, Triple H, Shawn Michaels as a clique. They're really all friends, so.
I don't think that X-Pac as Six was terribly memorable in the WCW NWO. He didn't stay around that long. He wasn't there for the beginning, and he wasn't there for the high notes, which it got to its highest note at Starrcade 97, and that was when he had long been gone. So they could kind of get away with that. That didn't bother me so much as how they just acted like it was a normal thing. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I could think that they wouldn't put Sting and Taker together that year is because they thought they could do it later. And obviously that was not the case, as they should have known.
Yeah. It's. I'm hoping that was the reason. They're thinking maybe we'll do it for next year. Let's go through this whole authority storyline shit.
Yeah, I have no idea on that.
Yeah,
it's just Sting had to go and retire after facing Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins felt so bad because he dressed up like Sting for Halloween. Hey, you know what, Seth? So did I. I also dressed up like Sting for Halloween.
Oh, shit.
It was such a great costume because you could be the Crow or you could be Sting, but if you were Sting, you got to carry around a baseball bat.
If you want to have the epic Sting costume, you should do half and half.
Oh, the red paint and the white paint?
Oh, God, fuck that. No. Wolfpack Sting sucked.
Well, I'm trying to think which half of
Sting.
No,
like right side Surfer Sting, left side Crow Sting.
Oh, right now, full on, long haircut on one side. That would take some planning, but that would be an amazing cosplay. I think you would deserve props for that wherever you go. You guys ever go to any kind of Comic Cons or anything?
We Colin and I, we went to C2E2 last year. We didn't make it this year, and then
I bet that was great.
It was a lot of fun. It was my very first comic book convention I've ever been to.
Well, I'll be when this airs, I will be getting ready to start the blog book tour, and I'll be blogging interviews with a lot of folks about Outbreak Mutiny. I can't talk. Outbreak Mutiny. I'll be blogging about that with a lot of groups that are connected to the cons. So, I don't know. Where are you guys located? You said you were in Chicago.
Yeah, south suburbs of Chicago. 40 minutes south of the city.
Maybe I'll end up there with it. I'll be at the Geek Gathering, which is kind of this North Alabama convention every September that we have. I got to go to the very first one, and I'll be, at this one. It's grown by about 2,000 people every year with celebrities, and it's been a great thing for the area. So check them out if you get a chance. Geek Gathering on Facebook. Some friends of mine there for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, before we say our goodbyes, I just want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah. I'm sorry for talking your ear off.
No,
that's fine.
No, it's not a big deal. It's more or less it's the editor of the show bitches when we go over an hour. Plus, I've been noticing that there's been a really bad storm coming out, and the last thing I want to do is the power to go out before we finish talking.
We had a tornado watch over here tonight, but nothing happened. I'm in Alabama.
Yeah.
So, we shut down the government if there's rain.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, especially over by me, I'm not sure how it is over by Com, but like any kind of bad weather, my lights and power will flicker.
Cool. Cool.
So the last thing I want to do is to get this.
Well, you want me to throw out? I can. You want to ask me any more questions, or you want me to throw out a plug, or
Well, oh yeah. Well, I definitely want to thank you for coming on. I appreciate everything we talked about. I'm really excited for your book. I definitely want you to, plug where everyone can find, the book, about you on social media, anyone, you would feel they want to follow. So if you want to take care of that right now, and then we're going to go into a little segment that I call Freaking Curious, where I'm just going to ask you 5 random questions just about your life.
Oh, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that first.
All right, perfect. Cool. So it's just basically 5 questions, and now that I know a little bit more about you, I kind of have an idea what I want to go with. So the first question is, obviously, as a wrestling fan, who is your all-time favorite wrestler?
Oh, boy, your editor's about to get really mad. Let's say I'm going to stick with Sting. He was the all-time favorite, number 1 Sting. Historical contributions, I'm going to go with Ric Flair. Skill in the ring, I'm going to go with Shawn Michaels. And best overall, probably the god of wrestling would be The Undertaker. How's that?
I like that. I agree with a lot of those.
It's my Rushmore. There's my Rushmore of wrestling.
That's your Rushmore? Oh, shit. I don't think I ever built a Rushmore. As much as a wrestling fan I am, I think if I had to, it'd be like really generic. Like I'd have to include Steve Austin on it just because I love that badass.
Yeah, there's an argument for that for sure. Tweet me your Rushmore when you come up with it, and we'll share that around.
Oh, I will, and it's probably gonna include one guy you mentioned, and then 3 people that I feel it is. So I'm definitely gonna tweet you that. Second question I got for you: who is your all-time favorite superhero? Created by DC, created by Marvel, not created by yourself. So all-time favorite superhero outside of who you created.
Oh boy, this is tough. All right. With DC, I'm going to go with Batman. Batman because he is the everyman that uses his guts, determination, and smarts to overcome any challenge. Marvel, It's got to be Spider-Man because that's when I started. I picked up the Clone Saga in the 90s with the Spider-Man comics, and I've read ever since, and I've stuck with him through the good times and the bad, including when Norman Osborn was revealed as Gwen Stacy's baby daddy. Still sad about that one.
All right. Go-to food. What is your all-time favorite meal or food?
Oh, pizza, 100%. And if you're in a hurry for a great pizza, call. They don't pay me or anything. I wish they did, but call Pizza Hut. Get the stuffed crust with extra sauce and extra cheese, and it feels like a $30 pizza you might have paid for in a restaurant, or $40 with the tip.
That sounds like a pizza for Colin.
Totally agree.
Yeah, there you go.
Extra sauce.
Hashtag.
Extra
Yes. Hashtag grad school.
All-time favorite con or convention that you've been to?
Oh, I've got to plug the Geek Gathering. Those are my friends. Check out the Geek Gathering at Facebook.
Okay.
Geek Gathering, double G's.
Gotcha. And let's see, what could be the last one? All-time favorite children's book.
Okay, say it again. I'm sorry.
All-time favorite children's book. Dr. Seuss, The Giving
Tree.
Tree.
The children's book. Can I say Goosebumps? Do you guys remember those by R.L. Stein?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
They weren't children's per se. It was more, younger, I guess, youth fiction. But he was actually in my town this last week, and I did not go see him because I was sick. And I've been disappointed about that. R.L. Stein and the Goosebumps books were my favorites. I wanted to get him to sign one of them and get a picture of me standing next to him with my book, too. That would have been a great photo op. Probably with security dragging me away,
Oh, shit. That's awesome. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. And before we say our goodbyes, I would love for you to kind of plug, where people can find you on social media, where people can find your
Yes, all
book,
right.
anything else that you have going on with you.
Thank you guys for having me on. I am currently on my blog book tour, and you can get all the updates at jsandlinwriter.com or at jsandlinwriter on Twitter and leave me a reply or retweet. My book, Outbreak Mutiny, is on Amazon in paperback and ebook, only for 99 cents an ebook. And May 13th, got a very exciting podcast with my friends at Geek Vibe Nations coming up. I'll be a co-guest talking about Outbreak Mutiny, and my co-guest will be Cal Dodd, voice of Wolverine from the X-Men animated series from the 90s. So that's on May 13th, coming up about a week, Saturday night. Check that out, and be sure to check out Outbreak Mutiny at thenovelcomics.com or by going to Amazon.
Okay.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Perfect. Jay, again, thank you so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate you being here and talking with us about your book, about you, and especially wrestling, because it's always fun to talk about that.
We'll do it again for sure. Think of some more wrestling stuff we can talk about.
I will. Maybe I'll throw together like some kind of wrestling trivia thing, or maybe even better, I'll have Joey and Colin create like a wrestling trivia game, and we could battle each other out for.
That sounds like a plan.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
Sounds like a plan. Read some more of the book. If you, it would be gold if you just left a review on Amazon really quick, even if it's just based on the crap I've told you tonight.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
I could do that.
Thank you. It's still totally free to download all night and all day tomorrow. That's why I didn't mention it, because it's going to end tomorrow.
Not a problem. Well, thank you for coming on. Definitely would love to have you back on in the future.
We'll do it. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll be tweeting it out. Just make sure you get me the link, because I just went over 10,000 Twitter followers tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. Woohoo. Yeah. All right. Got to go finish grad school. You guys have a good night.
Easy.
You take care. Bye. I like Jay.
I like it too.
Yeah, cool.
Jay's
dude.
cool. Jay is cool. His characters kind of creep me out, but they creep me out in a good way, not a scary way in any way, but a good way. There's that. We'll definitely have him back on though, because I'm not gonna lie, I'm just fucking still talking because you guys are not responding in any way, and I don't want an awkward silence to occur.
No, I know. I know you guys. You could have gone out for hours there with the wrestling stuff. But
I kept trying to get a word in. Every time I tried, I was on mute.
Yeah, no, that'd be nice. Oh yeah, I could talk about wrestling forever with the guy, but like I was telling him, like with this storm coming in, the last thing I want to do is for us to
us to drop out. Yeah,
absolutely. So without wasting any more time, let's quickly jump into Colin's segment of the evening.
Okay, let's get this done really quick. This is going to be a little bit longer. Actually, I could skip some, so we'll jump around. Welcome back, everybody, to this Freakin' State of Mind. This is our little segment where we go through each state of the United States and give a little bit of the facts. Last week, what state were we in? We were in the great state of Missouri. We're going to kick this off this week with the great state of Montana. You know, that one state that you don't hear too much about. It's just up there in the States. I'd have nothing against it. I'd probably actually want to visit there. But let's get right into it. The great state of Montana has the largest migratory elk herd in the nation. They also boast the largest breeding population of trumpeter swans in the lower U.S. At the Rocky Mountain Front Eagle Migration Area west of the Great Falls, more golden eagles have been seen in a single day than anywhere else in the country. North of Missoula is the largest population of nesting common loons in the western U.S. And the average square mile of land contains 1.4 elk, 1.4 pronghorn antelope, and 3.3 deer. If you haven't been able to tell, Montana's got wildlife. that's pretty much all they got that I can think of. So that's what a lot of these will be. The Freeze-Out Lake Wildlife Management Area contains more than 300,000 snow geese and 10,000 tundra swans during migration. At Bowdoin National Wildlife Refuge, if it is possible to see up to 1,700 nesting pelicans.
Wow.
Yeah. The Montana Yoga Sapphire is the only North American gem to be included in the Crown Jewels of England. 46 out of 56 counties in Montana are considered frontier counties, with an average population of 6 or fewer people per square mile. At Egg Mountain near Choteau, dinosaur eggs have been discovered, supporting the theory that some dinosaurs were more like mammals and birds than reptiles. To me, that statement sounds reversed. I mean, is that just me, or?
No, I don't know. Birds are basically modern day dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, that's true. Birds do lay eggs, but to say mammals, because mammals are known for not laying.
Right. Yeah, that is weird. I'll give you that one.
But Montana is the only state with a triple divide, allowing water to flow into the Pacific, Atlantic, and Hudson Bay. This phenomenon occurs at Triple Divide Peak in Glacier National Park. I kind of find this one ironic. The notorious outlaw Henry Plummer built the first jail constructed in slate. The moose, now numbering 8,000 in Montana, over 8,000, was thought to be extinct in the Rockies south of Canada in the 1900s.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's weird.
With Montana not having a lot of things taking up, it's a lot of land. Miles City is known as the cowboy capital. Yellowstone National Park is in southern Montana and northern Wyoming was the first national park in the U.S. Fishtail is named for either a Mr. Fishtail who lived in the area, or as the area Indians prefer, some of the peaks in the nearby Beartooth mountain range, which look like the tail of a fish. Montana has the largest grizzly bear population in the lower 48. The first luge run in North America was built at Lolo Hot Springs on Lolo Pass in 1965. Virginia City was founded in 1863 and is considered to be the most complete original town of its kind in the U.S. The density of the state is 6 people per square mile. The most visited place in Montana is Glacier National Park, known for the crown jewel of the continent. It lies along Montana's northern border and adjoins Waterton Lake National Park in Canada, forming the world's first international peace park. Buffalo in the wild can still be viewed at the National Bison Range in Mosey, south of Flathead Lake and west of Mission Mountains. The Old West comes to life through the brush and sculpture of famed Western artist Charlie Russell at the Charles M. Russell Museum Complex in Great Falls. The museum contains the world's largest collection of Russell's work, his original log cabin studio, and his Great Falls home. The Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman gained fame through the work of its chief paleontologist, Jack Horner. Horner was the prototype for the character Dr. Alan Grant in the best novel-selling movie. Anyone? Anyone?
I have no idea, bro.
Dr. Alan Grant.
Jurassic Park.
Yep.
I was on mute again.
Montana's rivers and streams provide water for 3 oceans, 3 of North American continent's major river basins. Oh, and 3 of North American continent's major river basins. Just south of Billings, Montana, Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and his troops made their last stand. Little Bighorn Battlefield National Monument features the Plains Indians and the U.S. military involved in this historic battle. Montana is home to 7 Indian reservations. Every spring, nearly 10,000 white pelicans with a wingspan of 9 feet migrate from the Gulf of Mexico to Medicine Lake in northeastern Montana. The Going to the Sun Road in Glacier Park is considered one of the most scenic drives in America. In Montana, the elk, deer, and antelope populations outnumber the humans. Glacier National Park has 250 lakes within its boundaries. Yeah. Hill County has the largest county park in the U.S. Beaver Creek Park measures 10 miles long and 1 mile wide. And our final one, completing with the Dee River in Lincoln City, Oregon, for the title of the world's shortest river, the Roe River flows near Great Falls, Montana. Both rivers' lengths vary from 58 feet to 200 feet. The source for this small river is the Giant Spring, the largest freshwater spring in the U.S. So, with that in mind, thank you all for joining me with this week's This Frickin' State of Mind. Please come back next week and join us for our next state.
Good job, Colin.
Yep. Try to go quick.
Like you always do. Oh, shit. Joey, what you freaking on this week?
Oh, I'm sure it's something. Probably the fact that Guardians will have come out by the time that this episode airs.
Oh, yes, Friday.
And with any luck, I'll have seen it. And that'll be cool.
That'll be cool.
How about you, Travis? What are you freaking on this week?
Guardians. you fucking took mine. No, yeah, Guardians. I think it might be the first movie I saw. I'm going to see it in theaters. But it'll be the first movie I saw in theaters, I think, since Colin, what the fuck did we go see in theaters?
Daredevil?
No,
not
Deadpool?
Daredevil. The Deadpool. Daredevil. I've never seen the movie.
Yeah, I think it's the first movie since Deadpool. I haven't been in the theater in a while. Actually, I haven't seen Doctor Strange yet.
I haven't either.
Maybe I'll see that. Maybe I'll fucking go watch that somewhere. That's on DVD, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Should be. I know you can get it at like the Red Box.
Fuck Redbox.
Yeah, so that would be out there.
Yeah. I'll have to check that out. But yeah, Guardians. Not a whole lot, It sucks, when you're working nights and shit, you really can't do much. But if it gets nice, I'll probably mow my yard. But other than that, yeah, Guardians. Colin, what are you freaking on this week?
I'm freaking on this week that I'm finishing up my class. I just have my final to take, and then I'm done for this semester.
Good. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
perfect. Hey, Joey.
Yes.
Every week, our listeners could catch Geek Cast Joe here on this freaking show. But if they need more Geek Cast Joe than the 1 hour we could offer them a week, what can they do?
If you need more Geek Cast Joe, you can find me over at the Geek Cast Live podcast at gcl.ninja. You can also find us on Facebook, iTunes, Google Play, and Twitter by searching Geek Cast Live.
Nice. I forgot that you are on Google Play now.
We are officially on Google Play. And I will also throw this out there. The network, the Movie Podcast Network, will have launched by the time this airs.
What is the Movie Podcast Network?
The Movie Podcast Network is a group of podcasts who are... mostly we talk about movie stuff. I don't know. I don't totally understand the concept, if I'm honest. But our friend Ryan Geek Cast Rye, and his other podcast, MPW, the host of that show, Jason Piles, has a group of other podcasts. I think there's like 10 different shows on the network, and you can find out more about that at moviepodcast.network starting May 1st. So, like 4 days ago, as of you people at home listening, hearing this. So, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Congrats to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram just by searching this freaking show. If you're listening to us, you have found us on either iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, or Stitcher. Keep in mind, I have started up a second podcast called JFW Podcast, Just Freaking Wrestling. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter just by searching JFW Podcast. And to close out tonight with another exceptional quote from my man, Will Rogers. Shit. I should find one that's better.
I was just for a second there thinking that the quote was just going to be shit.
That's a great quote.
Let's see here. See, now I'm just like, why the fuck are all these political? I don't want to do a political one. Fuck it. I'm just going to randomly choose one. Okay. Personally, I've always felt that the best doctor in the world is a veterinarian. He can't ask his patients what is the matter. He just got to know.
Nice.
Excellent. As always, I am Travesty.
I'm Awkward Cow.
And I'm Geek Cast Joe.
Thank you for listening to another episode of this freaking show. I'm up.